What's up, guys? It's Dustin back at it again with another episode of Seeing Red MMA. And this weekend, we are back in Brazil. UFC 301, Rio de Janeiro. Pantoja defending the flyweight title against a surprising contender to take on this challenge, Steve Erceg, number 10 flyweight. We also got Jonathan Martinez taking on the King of Rio. He has made his return. Jose Aldo is back, guys. That is your co-main event. You also have Anthony Smith versus Vitor Petrino, Michel Pereira versus Ihor Potieria, Paul Craig versus Caio Borralho, and then some other fun fights on the prelims as well. But let's get right into it, guys. Starting off with your main event. Pantoja set to make the second title defense of his UFC flyweight belt, coming off the decision win back in December of last year when he decisioned Brandon Royval. Almost had a brain fart there. And Steve Erceg coming off a knockout victory pretty recently against Matt Schnell. I'm pretty sure everybody at this point has a knockout highlight reel of Matt Schnell in that division, so not very surprising, but hey, rather give Steve Erceg the title shot than Muhammad Mokaev. You know what I mean? Let's be real here. But, pretty distinct experience discrepancy here. 27 wins, 5 losses for Pantoja. Only 12 wins, 1 loss for Steve Erceg. Height discrepancy, though. We do have 3 inches of a height advantage for Steve Erceg. And also, there's definitely going to be a very, very slight reach advantage. It looks like Pantoja has a 67-inch reach advantage. Erceg had a 68 reach advantage. So inch difference, not really going to play a big part, but I feel like Erceg is really good at playing out at distance. Pantoja tends to kind of brawl, especially on the striking. He'll throw kicks here and there, but it's usually, if it's not 1 or 2 shots at a time, he's kind of just head down, just coming in and throwing hooks, which, hey, may not be super effective, but makes for a really fun fight. This fight is interesting to me. I know this card isn't super heavy. It doesn't have a lot of star power on it, which is why they had to drag Jose Aldo out of retirement, and he probably got a bag off of it as well, too, because of how light this pay-per-view is, especially coming off of UFC 300. We're finally here back into the Apex cards, and then it's going to be downhill until about June when Makhachev and Poirier fight. But, just digging into this main event here, if we look at history, there's been multiple guys that have fought for the belt with 3 or less UFC fights. You got Pereira, 3 fights. Anderson Silva, 1 fight. Rampage, 1 fight. I know he had a little bit of more history and pride and things like that, so he's kind of more well-known, which justified his title shot when he did make the transition over to the UFC. But I rest my case. There has been multiple guys that have gotten title shots in somewhat weak divisions at that time that had very few UFC fights. And flyweight right now is kind of in limbo. We're waiting for basically Amir Albazi to get another win. He'll probably get a title shot. Manel Kape is out there. Alex Perez just put himself back into contention with that knockout over Nicolau, whatever the hell his name is, the Brazilian dude. I can't believe it. Mateus Nicolau. That's it, Mateus Nicolau. But yeah, Steve Erceg, he's got a really good shot. I think his boxing is really good. I think he's very dynamic, showing in his last fights. He definitely can handle himself on the feet and has very good range-finding abilities, how he's able just to strike from distance and be very accurate at the same time, but also be able to fight in close like he did with Matt Schnell, how he's able to get that short left hook knockout. And no disrespect to Matt Schnell, but like I said, everybody has a highlight over Matt Schnell, including Pantoja. This is 5 rounds, obviously, for the championship here. If I had to bet, which I will because I'm a degenerate, my brain says Pantoja, but for some reason, I got a feeling about Erceg. I think Erceg might be able to get it done. I think he might be able to get it done here. I think he might surprise a lot of people. Who knows? He might just make it very competitive and still lose the decision, which would still surprise a lot of people, being the number 10 flyweight. But, hey, like I said earlier, I'm way happier with this matchup over a matchup like Mokaev. Who cares, right? Mokaev is so boring. So let's not even, go on any further. But main event, co-main event. The King of Rio is back, guys. We have Jose Aldo returning after retiring after his loss against Merab Dvalishvili, taking on, honestly, a dog. This fight kind of worries me for Aldo. You got Jonathan Martinez. I think this is I know Jose Aldo later in his career kind of abandoned the leg kicks just over injury, so he tend not to use that as much as he did in his early career. Jonathan Martinez, I mean, he has multiple leg kick TKO victories. You got Cub Swanson and Adrian Yanez, so, I mean, the only other person that comes to mind that has leg kick TKO victories is Edson Barboza, and that's, when you're talking about striking, that's a very high class to be kind of talked about in the same breath. But, man, this fight is really good here. I mean, I want to remain unbiased as possible because I am a big Jose Aldo fan. Experience definitely is on Aldo's side. 31 wins, 8 losses. I mean, Martinez doesn't have a bad record either. I mean, he's got 23 professional fights. He's 19-4. They have the same exact reach, basically the same height. It looks like Martinez does have a slight height advantage just by an inch. That's about it. And then it actually looks like Aldo, this is what's nice about the UFC website now, guys. Aldo has a slightly longer leg reach. He is 40 inches compared to Martinez's 37.5. So, I mean, 2.5 inches, that could play a big difference, but it's all about how you set up those kicks. I think this fight is going to primarily stay on the feet, as we all kind of suspect, obviously. But I think what's going to make the difference is who can get off first. If it's Aldo with his heavy boxing style, hooks to the body, hooks up top, if Martinez is able to sustain those and stay outside the distance and throw leg kicks, I mean, this is a striker's dream, honestly. I've been a big Martinez guy for a while now. He's really impressed me over the last few years here. And, I mean, like I said, who doesn't love Jose Aldo? I mean, I'm glad the King is back. I'm just hoping both these guys go out there and have some fun. I don't want to bet on this fight because I really want Jose Aldo to win, but this is a very tough fight for Jose Aldo. I know Martinez is only number 12, but after a little bit of a hiatus for Aldo, that's what worries me. But I digress. Fight before that, oh, Jesus Christ. Anthony Smith taking on Vitor Petrino. Yeah, Vitor Petrino is he's a force in the light heavyweight division. I mean, the guy's 11-0. Anthony Smith, 37 wins, 19 losses. Last fight, obviously, Petrino undefeated, was a win. The last fight for Anthony Smith, we all remember, was that knockout loss against Khalil Roundtree. We know Vitor Petrino has very good timing and very good hands. It's just basically who's going to get off. But if I had to guess, I think either Vitor Petrino gets it done with a TKO. I think this is kind of where we start to see Anthony Smith's decline, even though we have been watching it over the last few years. But at the same time, though, Anthony Smith has been losing to the likes of Glover Teixeira, Magomed Ankalaev, guys like that, guys at the top. Vitor Petrino, he's trying to make his way to the top. I think this is really as simple as it is. It's old guard to the new guard. We're feeding the old guy to the new guy, see if the new guy can hang in these waters here. There's really not much to go off. I mean, Smith has an advantage, 6'4", Petrino 6'2", 2 inches there. Reach advantage actually goes to Petrino, 77.5 inch reach compared to Anthony Smith, 76. So inch and a half reach, not bad. I think Vitor Petrino gets it done. I think he gets it done inside of 3 rounds. If not, it's a unanimous decision. It's a beatdown. I think Anthony Smith needs to hang it up and just stick to commentating. He's really good as a commentator, despite him being delusional sometimes with the things he says, saying he could hang with Alex Pereira and shit like that. I still think he kind of needs to hang it up here before he suffers any more damage to his body. Because, I mean, 37-19, that's a long career, guys. I mean, I don't see really many people sticking around that much longer when you have a record like that. But moving on to the next fight, we have Michel Pereira versus Ihor Potieria. And now Ihor Potieria recently moved down to middleweight from light heavyweight. I know his last fight was a win. I know it was kind of a close fight there. And then obviously Michel Pereira coming off that win over Olejniczak back on UFC 299 with that crushing body kick that led to a submission, which was very surprising for Pereira fans. But yeah, this fight here, I think Michel Pereira is just more dynamic. I think he has more of a sense to pull the trigger. I think he's not as gun-shy as Potieria. Potieria has some good skills here. I just don't think he's going to be able to handle the storm of Pereira. Pereira is just super flashy. I know he's kind of calmed that down a bit since going up to middleweight and kind of like maturing inside the cage, which is funny to say because he's not a young guy. I don't know exactly his age because this thing isn't loading, but either way, I got Michel Pereira by TKO. Now you got Paul Craig versus Caio Borralho, which is kind of the same fight in a way to Anthony Smith versus Potieria. Caio Borralho, undefeated guy, I believe. Let me double check if it lets me. Okay, 15-1. My apologies. So, he does have one loss on his record. Paul Craig coming off the loss to Brendan Allen. This is kind of the same thing here where Paul Craig, he's good. It's just one of those things where he's really got to be on his shit to get this one done because Borralho is good on the feet. He's good on the ground. He's just good everywhere. So, it's tough. It's going to be a tough fight. It's going to be an uphill climb for Paul Craig. I can see him maybe snatching up an armbar or a triangle from guard on the bottom if Borralho kind of gets a little bit wild in there, which I don't think Borralho will. I think Borralho is a smart enough fighter and he has a high enough IQ, despite what his tattoos might tell you. Free spirit and fight or die, those are horrendous tattoos, but that doesn't really speak to his fighting game. I think Borralho is the new generation of the middleweight division. I got Borralho by decision. Now we get into the prelims. Jack Shore versus Joanderson Brito. Now, Jack Shore used to be like one of these prospects that everybody was just clamoring to see and just thinking he was the next big thing, which says a lot about MMA because he loses one fight. He's only 17-1. He loses one fight, and nobody really thinks of him as like a potential contender somewhere down the line, which is crazy to think, but Brito is a dog. He's good. They're both really good. I think Jack Shore is more cerebral. I think he has a little bit more control in his striking. Brito, more dynamic. I think he's more powerful, and I think he's willing to take more risks than Jack Shore is. I'm going to lean Jack Shore by decision. That's just my gut here. I think Brito is good, but I think his explosiveness is going to kind of bite him in the ass a little bit. I think he might rush in on something, and he might get caught just with the takedown, ground and pounded out, subbed, something like that. That's my prediction on this one. Moving on, Karolina Kowalkiewicz versus Eisman Luciendo. Kowalkiewicz by unanimous decision. Moving on, Elvis Brenner versus, I'm going to mess this up so bad, Maitabek Orlabai. I've seen this guy fight many times, but I just can't pronounce his fucking name. Elvis Brenner's a dog, guys. He is tough as they come. Talking shooter box, Charles Oliveira shit, the blonde hair. This guy can bang. We all remember his last fight, or it wasn't his. Actually, yeah, it was his last fight. He got that wild, like looping left hook KO. This is gonna be a dog fight, but this is a good test for both of them because Maitabek is a really good prospect. Like he's just one of those guys, like the mysterious kind of aura around him. Obviously is from Kyrgyzstan, so doesn't speak a whole lot of English. People kind of compare him to a caveman, which I can definitely see. And he kind of has that same kind of aura of like Shavkat, where you don't really hear much from him because of the language barrier, but that's kind of what makes him terrifying in a way, which he just is kind of goes in there and he's seek and destroy. Elvis Brenner, on the same hand here, speaks Portuguese from Brazil. I don't know if he really speaks English, But he's kind of the same way, though. Seek and destroy, just win by knockout, heavy strikers. This one's not making it the distance, guys. One of these guys is getting put out, whether if it's by TKO after getting dropped, but hey, this is going to be bloody. And if it's not bloody, I think someone just beats the shit out of him for 3 rounds, and then it goes to a unanimous decision, and it's one of those where, like, damn, this told us a lot about this guy. But I can't really make a prediction on them because I like them so much. Both of them are very, very good fighters, very intelligent fighters. I think Mytabek is more cerebral. I think he has a little bit better IQ. I think he's a little bit better just on the feet, has a little bit better just overall striking as far as keeping calm. Elvis Brenner, I find him more to be of a brawler, where he just goes out there and swings for the fences, and if one connects, it's over. Next fight. Ooh, Jean Silva. I did not know he was on this card versus William Gomes. Jean Silva's going to get it done, guys. This guy is a problem. I know his last fight, he fought a fucking can. Like, the dude he fought should not have been in the UFC. It was hard to watch, but he is a character. I'm talking on the mic, even though he's from Brazil and doesn't speak a whole lot of English, but this guy has all the makings to be a superstar, and I'm here for it. I can't wait. I think this guy is the future of the featherweight division. William Gomes has been around here, hasn't made a whole lot of noise in the UFC. I mean, he is a good fighter. He's more primarily a striker, but he doesn't pose the same threats that Silva does. Silva is, like I was saying earlier, seek and destroy. Goes out there to take your head off. And he does it slowly. He doesn't just go in there and blitz. He picks his shots, and he waits for you to leave openings, and he finds them. Silva by TKO, guys. Early prelims. Ooh, I like this one. I didn't know this was on here either. All right. Joaquim Silva versus Jakar Close. Both coming off big wins. Joaquim Silva just fought Clay Guida on the same card that Jakar Close got that slam knockout where he was caught in an armbar and just picked the dude up and just banged him on the head. Joaquim Silva, I believe, hits harder. He's more physical just by looking at him. I mean, the dude's jacked. He's so jacked. Jakar Close ain't no slouch either. I mean, I want to root for the Arizona boy. I know he's from, was that Michigan? I'm just looking at his tattoo, but hey, I know he trains at the lab. Ran into him a couple times at like Walmart and grocery shopping and things like that. Super cool. Him and Courtney Casey, very lovely people. Ran into him at Safeway one time, and I was like, holy shit, is that Jakar Close and Courtney Casey? They're checking out. I'm not going to say anything. Literally like a week later, I was at Walmart, and I saw them, and I was like, all right, well, now I got to go say hi and just be like, hey, guys, I'm a big fan. Like, you guys are cool. Like, I mean, if I'm seeing them twice within less than a month, I mean, I'm gonna say hi. Fuck it. Jakar Close. Jakar Close by knockout. That's all I got to say about that. I'm going to be biased on that one. I'm not going to be biased on the Aldo fight. I will be biased on the Jakar Close fight because I like me some Jakar Close. Jimmy Malarkey is still doing the damn thing. He's taking on a guy I have never heard of, to be honest. Oh, he's making his debut. That's why. Okay. Mauricio Ruffi. Contender Series guy. That makes sense. Don't remember his fight at all. Malarkey's last fight was a TKO loss. Give me Ruffi. Got the reach advantage. Got the leg reach advantage. Even though Malarkey does have a height advantage, I think Malarkey's chin's been touched a little bit too many times. Yeah, who cares? Diane Barbosa versus Ernesta Carcati. Give me Barbosa by sub. I don't even know either of their records. Fuck it. Ismael Bonfim versus Vince Pichel. It's a good test for Bonfim. They have him as a heavy favorite as minus 395 to Vince Pichel 310, plus 310. Yeah, Bonfim, I think gets it done by submission here. I think he's just younger, faster. I know he's lost one. Was his last fight that he lost one? Yeah, last fight was a loss, but so was Vince Pichel's. Vince Pichel Even though he's only 14-3, older guy, been around the block. Time for the new guard. I see a theme in this card that we're feeding a lot of the older guys to the newer guys and just kind of letting them, like, hey, sink or swim. And we got the opening fight on the early prelims. We got Alessandro Costa versus Kevin Borralho. Both of these guys are coming off of a loss at the moment. Costa, I know he's fought Steve Erceg. I remember that fight. He got pieced up. 13-4, Borralho 9-2. Flyweight 5-4 for Costa, 5-5 for Borralho. Reach is identical. Leg reach is identical. I know Borralho, I've seen him fight a few times. I know he's somewhat new to the UFC. Costa has been around for a little bit. And fuck it. Give me Costa. Give me Costa by submission. But that is UFC 301, guys. Like I said, Steve Erceg is taking on Alexandre Pantoja in his 4th UFC fight. Jonathan Martinez is taking on the returning King of Rio, Jose Aldo. Anthony Smith is being fed to an up-and-comer number 15, Vitor Petrino. Michel Pereira is taking on Ihor Potieria. Paul Craig is getting fed to Caio Borralho, and so on and so forth. Actually, I mean, when you look at it, if you are a diehard fan like I am, not to toot my own horn, this card ain't that bad. There's some bangers on here. They're definitely doing some fan service to Brazil with all the Brazilian fighters on the card, which I get. If you're going to Rio, you're going to put Brazilian fighters on the card. That would only make sense. I think it's going to be a good card. I mean, we'll see how it goes, but this card will be starting at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time for the pay-per-view, which I believe in the East is going to be 10 p.m., 5 p.m. for the prelims Mountain Standard Time, which is going to be 8 p.m., 8 p.m. Eastern Time, early prelims, 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, which is going to be 6 p.m. Eastern Time. So set your alarm clocks accordingly. I think it's going to be a good card. I know we're all coming off the UFC 300, and we're all kind of just still living off that fight card, which was one of the best cards I've ever seen. But hey, it's a new fight. It's a new pay-per-view. Let's take it for what it is. This is a decent card. If I had to rate it on a scale, if UFC 300 is an A, I'll give this a B minus. C+. I'll give it a C+. Because I would consider like Makhachev Poirier to be like a B, solid B. I haven't seen that whole card yet. But either way, that is this fight card for this week. Tune in for the post show, which will be uploaded maybe Sunday after the fight's there, just depending on what time I get done with it. But yeah, we are about 2 days away from UFC 301. My name is Dustin again. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, make sure to drop a like, leave a comment, follow me on Twitter, or X as you call it, at SeeingRedMMA. And you know what I always say, you have yourself a great rest of your day. And until next time, see ya.